Hello, Yu-Gi-Oh players, and welcome to a brave new world. I was going to sing the song from Aladdin, but I figured I'd spare you guys. Anyway, I'm your host, the RJB0. So, yeah, about an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago, it's been a while, I've been getting a haircut. While I was getting my haircut, the TCG Ban List came out, and I said the TCG Ban List because, in case you guys haven't already seen it, I'm sure you have, I am definitely not the first person to be covering this. The TCG Ban List is vastly different from the OCG Ban List. I'm not actually going to read through it because I figure you guys can do that yourself, but I will have the list down in the you know what it is. It starts with a D. It's the description, that thing, down below. So I will have the list there, but I'm not actually going to read it through it because it takes up unnecessary time, and I'm sure you guys have already read through it. So my initial reaction to this is I suppose, the broader statement that I'm going to start off this discussion with is this format is the return of classic Yu-Gi-Oh! And what I mean by that is, in recent formats, you've had kind of this odd dichotomy of Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks that are either really fast and really powerful and really go in for that punch early game, or they're stun decks, they're stun or control decks that really sit on a ton of back row, and the point of the game for them is to stop the plays of the opponent. So you've either got a deck where it's just pile on the moves, or it's stop all of the moves. So it's been this very odd dichotomy, and that really isn't the kind of thing that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is classically famous for. What Yu-Gi-Oh! Tends to be, or what it used to be in older formats, long time ago, when most of the big cards weren't either didn't exist yet, or were limited or whatever, was you'd have a bunch of decks that would have their individual win conditions that they would work toward, but had very similar timings. Instead of, you wouldn't have either really fast or really slow and sitting back. They'd all have very similar timings where they would start to get rolling, and they'd all have very different win conditions, but they'd all have a very similar pace, where the beginning of the game would be setup, set up and preparing for your opponent's plays, and then the middle of the game would be getting into those plays, and then you would get to the peak of the game, and then you'd rest in the grind game. That's my cat. So in classical Yu-Gi-Oh, it's very similar timing, very different win conditions, and in this list we are seeing the fall of stun. First of all, stun will hardly ever see play, which it means Chain Beat is dead. I'm gonna say it. Rest in peace. One of my favorite decks ever. It had a short and troubled life, but it really is. Stun cannot properly work in a format where they can only rely on having one of each of their most important trap cards, where they can't use shutdown cards like Thunder King Rai-oh, which totally called it, got hit to 1, or Shockmaster, or Macro, or D-Fissure, or Soul Drain. So stun is basically no longer a thing. There may be individual, more stun-like archetypes. I suppose Boojins could count, and Boojins are going to be amazing in this format now because they are exactly that kind of deck where it starts with a little bit of setup, and once they get rolling, they're just really hard to take down. They're also really hurt by Macro and D-Fissure, which once again also called the limit, hitting those two cards. And yes, I am doing the taking down a point thing. So, yeah, Boojin's going to be really great. I think that the point of this list really seemed to be to take down all the cards, or as many cards as possible, that really limited the player interaction. And this is a point that is not my own. I'm not going to take credit. This was a friend of mine named Nick Gibson who pointed this out to me, and I definitely agree with him. That this format just, yeah, cards that shut down a deck for a period of time, cards like Eradicator, Shockmaster, Thunder King Rai-oh, Macro Cosmos, Soul Drain, etc. All those cards, while they're out or while they're in effect, shut down a deck completely. And that just isn't the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Works. It shouldn't be that a single card, can just take down a deck entirely. And that makes sense with the banning of Heavy, because A lot of decks, if they get heavy stormed, they're pretty much done. Not bringing Trishula back, I'm pretty cool with. I'm split between laughing at all the people who bought Trishulas and feeling really bad for them. I do have to make a couple of apologies to people I argued with. First of all, who was the wizard on my channel who predicted M7 going to 1? Like, what? Like, I suppose it makes a little bit of sense because of, loops you can do with, Hieratic Gishki, and because it's useful in Constellars, and this list also really took down loops and OTK strategies like Diva and Birdman, but really, like, that was some pretty crazy Nate Silver stuff going on there. So yeah, first big apology to him, or congratulations, I suppose, on getting that, predicting that. Let's see, apologies to David Myers, who I was arguing with, who said that they would never hit they would hit Dragoons over Abysteus, Dragoons and Diva. And he was half right, and I was half right. But yeah, I suppose I was a little bit of a dick to him. But enough of that. So yeah, I was right on some things, totally called a couple things, was totally wrong on some other things. Other thoughts I have on this list. Dark World is going to be scary powerful, at least for a little while. The only thing Dark World really has to worry about now is Abyss Dweller or Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Rabbit to 1 isn't going to make a huge amount of difference, I suppose, except to Evil Swarms, Gem Knights, not having Rabbit at 1. I think that that's not going to make a big difference. Evil Swarms are still going to be okay this format. They're actually going to be decently good as an anti-meta deck, since they are probably the last stun-style deck to really survive this format, since they do use a lot of traps, but they can survive without the classic traps. They use a lot of more creative rogue-style traps, like, what's it called? You know what I'm talking about. Vanity's Emptiness. So Evil Swarms will still be decently good. Let's see. Dark World are going to be pretty amazing. Agents. I'm super happy about Agents being back. And I'm just, you know what? I'm just going to go through the list of things that I can think of that are going to be good this format, because they all have this kind of pace that I was talking about. So the kinds of decks that I've been talking about are Agents, for instance. TG Agents start off slow, they need a little bit of time to set up, but once they get rolling, they're really hard to take down. They've got those Hyperions and Chrystias and crazy stuff. So Agents are going to be very good. They have the right pace for this format. Infernities. Oh man, Infernities are going to be crazy. Like, on the one hand, they've lost a lot of their really powerful traps. On the other hand, they still have Triple Barrier. They have Transmodify now. Macrocosmos is not going to be a problem for them anymore. They don't have to worry about that. Oh my goodness, Infernities. Like, they're going to be crazy. If you've got Infernities, hold on to them. The only thing, I suppose, that hurts Infernities about this list is the fact that they didn't get Trishula back. But, like, the Xyz version of Infernities is going to have a pretty crazy good format. Thunder Family is going to be very helped by this format, if not because of the slowing down of the format, so they get all the setup time that they need that they didn't have previously, then because of Compulsory going to 1, which is one of their worst enemies. Compulsory at 3 was nasty for the Thunder Family deck because, because if they, hit you with a Compulsory, you couldn't like depend on a Stardust or something. It was just spot removal from basically all their best plays. Constellars are still going to be good despite only having one M7 now. They're still going to be very powerful. They also have that slow startup kind of strategy thing going on. Noble Knights are going to get a lot of support, and I like the fact that I don't remember what that had to do with the ban list, but yeah, Noble Knights are going to be very good this format, so definitely look out for them. Blackwings got a lot of support. That's really nice. Black Whirlwind to 3. was big for them. You know what? I'm going to go back to the list so that I can actually make some sense and make sure I know what I'm talking about. Plaguespreader Zombie to 2 and Mezuki to 2 is actually pretty cool. I think that this is actually going to support the Go deck that I was working with Chameleon, and it's actually possible now for that deck to win with the slower form of this format. D-Prison to 2 is interesting. You're actually going to see a lot more D-Prison in use now that the classic traps are kind of out of the game. But I like D-Prison to 2 because they foresaw D-Prison being run at 3 in decks. You're going to see a lot more Fiendish Chain being played, which is really cool. I like that idea because now we're actually going to be seeing MST in use because there are a lot of cards that it's really important for. Other things that I want to talk about this. Dewloren really needs to make up its mind. Like, they keep going limit Dewloren, semi-limit Dewloren, unlimit Dewloren, semi-limit Dewloren, limit Dewloren. They need to find a good place for Dewloren and stick with it. And they need to stop, like, thinking that they can take it off the ban list. I'm really sad about Solemn Judgment being gone. I thought Solemn Judgment was one of the most skillful cards in the game. Because really, think about it. It's a really powerful resource to use, and it's a 1 card out for basically anything. Short of, like, I don't know. There were just so many things that Solemn Judgment could take out. But the thing was, it was a really precious resource that you had to play smartly. And I don't like it being gone. I think that Solemn Judgment being gone is just... it doesn't feel right to me. Like, it's a quintessential Yugioh card that basically it exemplifies the way that Yugioh is played. Like, the Solemn Judgment is a powerful card that can negate one thing, any one thing, at an extreme cost, and you have to be very careful about conserving that resource. I'm sorry if the wind is making this sound a little weird. But, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about having resources and using them with the correct timing, and I think that that's everything that Solemn Judgment is, and it makes me really annoyed that they took that away from us. Brotherhood of the Firefist Spirit to 1 means that 3-axis is really dead. Like, it could survive with only the 1 Rooster, but with only 1 Spirit, we are not going to see 3-axis in this format. I think that even Rooster is still not going to sell very well, even though they made this switch, which was kind of a silly thing for them to do. And I don't think there's really a whole lot else that struck me. There were a lot of things, like, I'm looking through here, and there are just so many things that I totally called. Thunder King Rai-oh to 1, Compulsory to 1, so there's a little bit of bragging on my part. But I'm going to be playing next format. I think that Infernity is going to probably be the most powerful deck. Psychics are going to be really good since they still have Redox, and they have the kind of format that really supports them without the macro, without the D-Fissure, without Thunder King. So Psychics are going to be really good. You're going to see a resurgence of Psychics. We'll probably see a lot of plant players again. I'm trying to think of the other things that are... Yeah, Infernities at the top. Psychics are going to be really good. I'm personally still going to be playing Thunder Family, but I'm also going to be playing Agents again this format, because Agents is one of my favorite decks, and if I can get my hands on Infernities, I probably will. We're still probably going to see some Evil Swarms, especially with Compulsory at 1. I don't like that. I don't like that Evil Swarms might actually be a decent deck now. And that's pretty much my reaction. I'll probably think of other things that I might bring up in other videos, but I really think that this is going to be an interesting format. It's really bringing us back to our roots as the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, a lot of people are saying they're going to quit after this format. Oh my god, this format just totally changes everything, but it brings us back to what Yu-Gi-Oh! Was at its best. And I don't think a lot of people see that, and I think people are going to disagree with me, and of course have that discussion with me in the comments below, or on my Facebook page, putting out one of those shameless plugs that I do. But I'm excited for this format. Oh, big thing, I don't know if I mentioned this already, this is going to be a 3-month format. We only have this from September 1st to December 31st, which means we may be going to the 4 formats per year thing that I was talking about before. And it doesn't look like it's actually going to be totally coinciding with the release of various sets. But this is definitely a big change in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it actually feels to me more like we're returning returning to our roots than departing from the game that we love. So I really hope you guys don't freak out too much of this format, because I think it's actually going to be really good. You're going to see a lot of new decks coming out. It's really good format for rogue decks. And I love it. Except for the fact that Dark World is going to come back because you don't have Soul Drain Fissure and Macrocosmos, and the Evil Swarms are actually going to be decent. So, you know, Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors are going to be a thing again. But overall, I really like this format, and I'll stop rambling at you guys. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in that comment section below, and absolutely have that discussion with me about how you guys think this ban list is going to look, or whatever. I think this is going to be great, and this is definitely a good time for discussing this format because there's so many big changes, and we're going to need to be really prepared. Anyway, I will be having more videos about this. I will be doing more discussions. I will be doing more exploration, and I will definitely keep you guys posted along that way. So definitely, if you want to hear more from me, hit that subscribe button, and then check it out for my channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.